everybody, Hamer again with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 24, called The Train. In this one, Dan gets instructions from the photo booth again. This footage is obviously recycled from the previous episode, with new pictures inserted into the film of the different targets. The mission is simple. Prime Minister Laria of Svardia, a European nation, is very sick, and the IMF must prevent his trusted deputy, Milos Pavel, from taking power, as Pavel will reverse all of the reforms that Laria has made. So we get the expected 4 agents. Dan is just basically there to, have the apartment scene. And we also get a director and his acting crew, and we also get cardiologist Dr. Harrison Selby. I guess Dr. Ira Green was on vacation. Anyway, the crew heads to Svardia after some brief prep in Dan's apartment. In their national hospital, Laria discusses the numerous protesters that Pavel has jailed and tells Pavel that once he takes over, he should let them go because they mean well. And he reaffirms his trust in his named successor to carry on the work and the reforms that he's been doing. Pavel tells his security chief Androv to make sure his detractors stay behind bars. And in a very unusual moment, almost regrets having to eliminate them when the time comes, but oh well, I guess you can't make omelets without breaking eggs. Anyway, Dr. Selby and Nurse Cinnamon arrive with Laria's doctor, and they confirm that at this point Laria does not have long to live, but their plan will not harm him. Dr. Selby indicates he heard a heart murmur, which he allows Laria's doctor to hear thanks to some gadgetry performed by Cinnamon's special ring. New x-rays with an IMF overlay confirm that Laria needs to head to Bern by train for open heart surgery, as the necessary heart-lung machines are not available in Svardia, and flying is too risky. Rollin and Willie sneak their truck into a train yard shed disguised as a fumigation truck, which they're only able to do because the guard was busy with his girlfriend and doesn't want to get written up, allowing them to continue without any more scrutiny. Dr. Selby tells Pavel he will have to prepare the train with oxygen and other equipment for the trip, and it turns out the plans have changed. Laria was to go in the rear car, as always, but for security will now go in the center car. That is, until Rollin goes over as a security minister and orders everything moved to the rear car as required by the IMF plan. Rollin, for good measure, also knocks out one of the guards so he can take his uniform. Barney and Willie get into position as Laria's motorcade arrives with Nurse Cinnamon. When questioned by Androv about the center versus rear car, Rollin explains that the rear car will be added after Laria is set to go. Before the train departs, Rollin gets Androv's guards into the other part of the train and separates it from the rest. Then Barney and Willie redirect Laria's train car into their shed, with Cinnamon strategically closing the window shade as they head in. The art director and his crew then start rolling their film of footage of the lovely European countryside between Svardia and Switzerland, and set up sound effects and physical gadgets to simulate the train ride. One of the sound devices overheat. Barney has to quickly MacGyver it. He does. Laria is put to bed as Androv goes to check the forward car, which of course isn't there, but Rollin is able to explain that by saying the guards took the train ahead to make sure the way is clear and there's no obstacles. The IMF begins a part of the journey where they head down through the Alps or whatever, and they simulate a high-speed crash, knocking out Pavel and Androv, who wake up the next morning in a hospital. Cinnamon informs Androv that Laria is dead, and Androv tells Pavel what's happened, administering the oath of office, since he's ostensibly the new prime minister. Pavel tells him to start their plans, to have just a simple funeral for Laria so the country can forget him and move on, and begin executions of their enemies. It turns out that the hospital is just a set, and the IMF and Laria were watching the whole time. Laria thanks the team for what they've done and for the gift of being able to see beyond his death. Mission accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of B+. The guest stars in William Wyndham. He is a fantastic character actor. I think you will see him at least once, if I recall correctly, in just about every episode of Mission Impossible. And if he's in the episode, generally speaking, it's a pretty good one. that changes, I think, a little bit towards the later seasons. Noah Keane as Androv is good as his support. They play their roles really, really well. And it's a good plot. It's the first time we've seen this level of what is a staple of the series, which is called the Fantastic Voyage, right? Where somebody is taken on a long trip, but actually is really going nowhere. We saw a little bit of that back in Operation Rogosh. That wasn't really taking somebody to a different place. It was more to a different time, but it's the same idea. The reason I can't put this up in like the A grade is, first of all, the stuff that happens in the train yards, that takes up a fair bit of television time. A bit too much, in my opinion. It's not horrible. It's completely necessary to the plot. I do get it. They explain why they're doing it. It's not there just for the sake of, but yeah, that took a little bit too much time, in my opinion. That's not so bad. I'm going to put it in the bad category, but it's not terrible. What is bad, though, is unfortunately this episode, as entertaining as it is, has a completely bogus premise. You simply cannot simulate outside footage or on film without somebody knowing that it's not real. I don't believe it. It certainly wasn't possible back in the 1960s. I don't even think it's completely possible today for somebody to do it in such a foolproof manner. Just simply doesn't work, unfortunately. So when I thought about that, it bothered me at first, and then I looked into it, and somebody confirmed to me, no, that it really isn't possible. I'm like, yeah, that's a bit of a turnoff when the IMF does something that just simply isn't possible according to the laws of physics. But whatever, not terrible, and it's still definitely an above average episode. Anyway, that's my review for this one. Please like this episode as always. Please subscribe to my channel, leave comments. I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll see you next time.